Hello, we are live today. Welcome to our weekly Q&A call. I am taking over today. Levi is traveling. He has an event that he's going to be speaking at today. So I am taking over. So go ahead and start dropping your comments in the chat. I already see a couple of you out there and I'm seeing some comments starting to populate. So I'll go ahead and answer those questions really quickly. And then we do have one person who requested a channel review. So we'll go ahead and look through that as well. So first off, I believe that is it Brooke? I think it's Brooke, right? I Sell Utah. And if you ask a question too, if you wouldn't mind just putting your name in there as well, so I know who you are, because a lot of times we are, doing exactly what we tell you to do, and you name your channel after not yourself, right? And you name it after your area, and then I don't know who I'm talking to. So if you wouldn't mind just dropping your name in the comment when you ask me a question, I will make sure that I'm actually addressing you. So I think it's Brooke, right? And it looks, I actually was looking at your board just a little bit ago, and it looks like you finished all of your onboarding items. And his question here, so that everybody else has some context. You are probably ready to schedule a kickoff call. The kickoff call is really meant for once you have videos ready to go, if you're in the video editing program. So if you don't have videos ready to go yet, I would probably save that because you only get one kickoff call. So I would just make sure that you're using that when you're as close to getting started as possible. So that's what I would recommend. It does look like all of your onboarding items are done though. So if you do have videos that are ready to edit and you're just trying to figure out how to use the coordinate board, then that kickoff call is your next step. How do we request a channel review? Yeah, so are you in our program? So if you're in our program and you're in school with us, which is our private group for our program clients, then we actually release a weekly post requesting people to put in their channel review request there. So there's a thread that you're supposed to reply to once a week. It usually comes out about 24 hours before this call. So you can just comment in the comment section for that. Okay, cool. So let me pop over. We do, like I said, we do have one channel review. So I'm going to go ahead and present here. I always forget how to do this. So here we go. Share my screen. Can you guys, hopefully you guys can see that. Just going to make sure. Yes. Okay. It looks like you guys can see that. I can't see you. So, okay. Awesome. So we are going to go ahead and look in here. It looks like you have 246 videos, 518 subscribers. That is awesome. So the first thing that I would mention, it looks like Living the Springs is the name of your channel. And that I would say may not be as searchable. Now it isn't a make or break, ultimately your channel name matters less than the actual optimization on the videos. But I always like to look at that and say, okay, is that really apparent? What people are searching for? Is the springs what people are really searching for when they're searching for your area? Probably not. They probably are looking for more Colorado Springs. So I would consider maybe adding that to the name. Maybe, if you're ranking for this, that would be one thing. If it's easy to find you as it is, then maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to change it. But if you're not married to the name, I would consider putting Colorado Springs in your name, especially in your handle. But your banner is really good. I really like this. There's some good contrast here. Now, I will say this number here, we don't usually recommend putting phone numbers there, but I'm not mad about it. I think it's fine. But the main thing here is that it is a little bit difficult to see. I mean, I can see it because I'm on desktop, but if someone were to be looking at this from far away, it might be a little bit difficult for them to see. So I might put that in maybe a black instead of a yellow on white, because that's a little bit less contrast than I usually like to see. But overall, I really like this. This is really bright and bold. I feel like there's really good contrast here. And you have a call to action that is very clear, very concise. So I really, really like that. So let's look over here at your about section really quick. Perfect. This looks really, really good. Now, one thing we usually tell people, now this could be completely based on your TubeBuddy results, and I'm not 100% here, but sometimes you'll actually find that Colorado Springs with Colorado without the comma actually ranks better. So do a search in TubeBuddy, because for some reason that comma is really hard for people to remember to type in, and it is a different search term, believe it or not, without the comma, with and without the comma. So I would go ahead and take a look at that and just see if Colorado Springs, Colorado without the comma ranks a little bit better, and maybe it's exactly the same. I know that Dallas, Texas, it ranks better without the comma. So that's something that I would take a look at. But other than that, that looks really good. You've got good. Now let's see. What is this right here? Download the guide. See, now I would not put this here. That is one thing here. This is a distraction from the call to action. Hey, that's actually kind of catchy. The distraction from the call to action. Right here. That's catchy. I'm going to have to figure out a way to use that. But I would not put anything that's not directly trying to get a hold of you. So sometimes like people will put their website here. I think that's okay because ultimately it leads to calling you. But I think this is a lot more difficult to capture somebody on. Meet me in person. This should be your number one call to action here. So I would remove this completely and just keep these two things up. Or if you wanted to add your website, I think it's more, this is white. And so it kind of stands out. So to me, that's actually right where my eye went. I actually completely glazed over this because this was over here. So I would take that off and just keep this here. Let's go look over here. Oh, and it looks like, let's see. 1 second. Let me look over here. Let's see. Yeah, your thumbnails are good. I do really like your thumbnails. I think they're great. You've got some really good contrast here. Now this, I would probably see how it's kind of dark. This right here. Now and I talk about this a lot. One of the C's in marketing is confusing. So if you can't really tell what your background is, it's not really serving a purpose. So right here, I cannot tell what the background of this is, and it's really dark. So I would consider maybe for something like that, see how it only has 73 views from 11 days ago. We'd have to look at the inside of the stats, but I'd be curious to see what the click-through rate was on that. Just because that is a little bit too dull for me. It doesn't really stand out. Kind of same with this one. This one could use more contrast. I can tell what's in the background. I can tell that, but $1,000, are you pointing to the street? Are you pointing to a restaurant? Are you pointing to the apartment complex behind you? That's, I feel like a little bit too vague for people. And since the colors are kind of muted there, it doesn't really look all that interesting to me. So I would probably switch that one up. Either, you could keep, I really like the headshots that you use there. So you could probably use the headshots that you have there and just use something a little bit more saturated with a little bit of extra, contrast on it in the background for something like that one. Now this one, I feel like I hovered over this one and this one actually had a different thumbnail, which is very possible. So I thought I saw this one with the thumbnail. I'm going to refresh this really quick. Oh, it doesn't look like this one has a thumbnail. So actually this one only has 8 views from 54 minutes ago, an hour ago. I feel like that could probably perform better if you actually had a dedicated thumbnail on that one. So that's probably was not intentional. Seeing what you've been doing up until this point, it looks like that probably might have just been an oversight. So I would throw a thumbnail on that one. Let's see. Yeah, let's look at let's see. We are already looking at your latest. Let's look at your top keywords here. Now this is vidIQ actually. I like to use the free version of vidIQ just for for keyword suggestions. Okay, so it looks like your top keywords are moving to, that one's a good one. That one's okay. And that one's a good one. So I would say, now I can't see what your tags are, but one thing that I always tell people is to start with a short form or a short tail key phrase or keyword and build out. So if that's the first thing in your tags list, I would probably push that to maybe the 3rd or 4th and use Colorado Springs, Colorado Springs. Do the short 2 to 3 in key phrases. Short form or short tail key phrases are what I consider to be 2 to 3 words max. So I would start with something. It's usually the city and state and then the different renditions of that. So Colorado Springs, CO, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Colorado Springs. So, doing all of those different renditions, I would make those the ones that you target at the very top of your list and then work your way out into longer key phrases. Because typically people don't type out the full keyword. And if they do, you can rank for multiple keywords in that case. So it's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone when you do that. So I would recommend that. I can't see all of your tags because I'm not in your back end, but that's my suspicion based on that initial look into your account here. So Let's see. Now, some of these are a little bit older, so I just say, like something right here off the top of my head, that cursive font is going to be almost impossible to see. One, because of the color, and two, because of the thickness issue there. So I would stay away from using the cursive fonts that are really thin, like the handwriting fonts. Those are really hard to see, especially on mobile. So I would just stay away from that. Looks like, you've kind of changed it up since a couple of months ago. So I'm not seeing that in your newer ones, but yeah, this looks really good. Let's go look over at one of your descriptions. Let's look at the one that you just released. And sorry, if you are asking me questions or commenting back to me in the comments right now, I can't see them. So I'll answer them here in just a second if you're asking me anything. Okay, so here's one thing that we can definitely improve right off the bat. This is not very long. So this whole section right here before your contact information should be about 250 characters long minimum. So that gives you a chance to, go through and really pull some of the key words and key phrases from your tags. Oh, looky here. vidIQ is able to pull some of your tags. So it looks like, yep, see this one I would probably put first, and see if this is your first one, you're actually trying to rank for this one. So you are ranking 100%, but I am going to guess that this probably has a pretty low search volume because of how long tail it is. Now, that's not to say that that doesn't have search volume, but my guess is that with a long tail key phrase right here, you're really missing out on some of the short tail key phrases and keywords that you could be, focusing on first. So I would put this and probably this ahead of this one and try to rank for these two instead. Let's see here. You don't have any hashtags here, so I would definitely add hashtags, but awesome job here pinning a comment. Now, one thing I would do here is instead of putting a link to something else, you want to actually put your contact information here. So this whole section right here, this is the information that I would actually pin as your first comment, because they could go here, get lost on the page, and eventually they're gone. This is a quick call to action. Instead of having them go search on their own, take control and have them call you, and so you can take them through that process. It's a good secondary option to have them go through your website because, again, it's another avenue to get to you. But I mean, it's like going through a maze and just taking the longer way around, right? You'd rather take the shortcut, and this is the shortcut right here. So I would go ahead and pin that versus this as your first comment. And that actually will probably spur a few more comments too, because you're probably getting people, if they are thinking about commenting, they see the little shiny object right here and they click and they go away and they never come back and engage with you. So that will also probably help your comments in the future too. But yeah, I would definitely lengthen this. Make sure that you're putting lots of the tags from in here and incorporating them in a readable way. Don't just keyword stuff, but make them readable, usable in this section right here. But yeah, other than that, I mean, you're doing a lot of things right. So I would say just most of these things are just little tweaks. And I think if you added a couple of those things to your overall strategy, you're going to see a big improvement in your views. Cool. Awesome. Okay. So, oh, good. We've got some good questions coming in here. All right. Mr. Malcolm, we always love seeing you here. Okay, what unique value do you offer to your viewers that sets your channel apart from others? Well, I think it's really more of the approach. And ultimately, I think it comes down to Levi's personality too. And that's really the case for a lot of your channels because, there's lots of other channels in Dallas. There's more and more popping up every single day. But Levi is the personality. And there's certain people that they only want to work with Levi and his team, right? I remember way back in the day. So if you guys want to come back in time with me, there was once a time where I was answering the phone calls, optimizing the videos, editing the videos. I was, pretty much doing everything on the other side of the real estate business and everything. And I remember taking calls at the very beginning of this process. And people would beg to talk to Levi on the phone. And I just have to say, sorry, he's not available. He's out creating content, which he was. So personality is really a huge part of that. I mean, when people connect with you on your channel, the content is secondary to your personality. The content shows that you know what you're talking about, and that adds to it. But ultimately, people bond with your personality. I think all of our real estate agents here and realtors, you can all relate to that, right? There's certain people to just vibe with. And those are your best clients, the ones that you really get along with, the ones that you feel like you've known for forever, people who tell you all of their information up front. Those people really connect with you. And that's really kind of the value proposition, is somebody that you feel like you can know, like, and trust from the very beginning. So yeah, I would say aside from just amazing information and, really knowing the area better than anybody else, it's personality and just feeling like you can really know, like, and trust that person immediately. All right, Malcolm, let's see. You've got some more questions here. Let me pull one up. What kind of equipment do you need to produce high quality videos, and how can you improve your production values? Well, we teach in the course to really use an iPhone. And I think right now we live in a world where phones are really almost equivalent to some of the best cameras that you can get out there. Now, of course, don't get me wrong, there's definitely cameras that if you want to take the cinematic value up, you can go and purchase a very expensive camera. But there's music videos, entire music videos that are filmed on iPhones. I mean, that just tells you how much potential an iPhone has. I think really more than just equipment, it's understanding how to use your equipment. I think just learning a little bit more about the features in your own camera can really help increase your quality. I also think, though, with that in mind, also keep in mind the fact that YouTube will degrade your quality if you do too high of quality. So 4K right now, it's not really supported on a lot of browsers. It's not supported. I mean, it's there, but I mean, YouTube's going to degrade your quality down to 1080 in most cases. So we usually don't recommend doing 4K, because anytime that there's compression that happens on the other side, it has the potential to make something blurry. You'll see this on places like Instagram and TikTok. If you do something that's too high quality, it actually compresses the value and compresses the overall look and feel of it. So you may have a really crisp video when you export it, but then when you put it on Instagram, all of a sudden it's blurry. So that definitely is something to keep in mind. It's a fine line that you have to kind of balance. So we usually say 1080 HD, 60 frames per second, but it's really just understanding how to use your own phone and going in and kind of learning a little bit more about the settings on that. As long as you're doing 1080 HD and 60 frames per second, though, that typically gets you to the goal line. The second thing that I would say, though, is sound quality is probably going to even trump video quality. Having a really good microphone that's clear, I would say, is even more important than having a good camera. You can have crappy video quality, but if the audio quality sucks, nobody's going to watch, right? That's just, it's overstimulating for people, especially in a world like we have today where people have so many options to go look at things. If it's audio, it can just make people move right off the page, right? I know for me, sound is a little bit triggering, loud noises especially. So if I hear wind noise, I'm out of there. I don't want to listen to it. So sound quality definitely is probably number one. Video quality number two. Lighting is another thing. Make sure that you have good lighting. Now, if you're outside, and you're doing a vlog video, try to go during a time that you know that the quality of the light is going to be good. Noon is probably the worst time to go because you got your light source from overhead. And so, you're going to have horrible shadows on your face. If you go too late in the evening, you're not going to have any light whatsoever. So to kind of try to balance that, a lot of times just doing that kind of in the early morning or late afternoon, those are probably good times to go do it because you have a light source from one side that you can kind of play with and use as you're doing your video. So I would say between lighting, sound, and video quality, if you have those three things lined up, you should have a pretty great video to work with. Let's see, what's your suggestion to create compelling thumbnails and titles for our videos to increase click-through rates? Yes. So this is another thing we talk about in the course, but thumbnails are really important. And a bad thumbnail is going to make people gloss over your video and not even give it a chance, which we don't want, right? Because the quality of the content is awesome, but the thumbnail can really derail everything for you. So one, contrast. You need really good contrast on your thumbnails between your font, the style of the font, the color of the font, and the background of the thumbnail. That's really going to be very, very important. So we usually say to kind of bring up the saturation a little bit. The contrast should be good in the background. So if you're in a white shirt going against a green background, like trees or something like that, that's going to be a great contrast. If you're wearing a black shirt and you're against a black building, that's not good contrast, right? So have something in the background that gives you good contrast. Now you can either impose yourself on in front of another image that you've taken, which we do that all the time, or you can take a screenshot from the vlog video that you're doing and, just up the saturation in the background. So that would be probably the first thing. And then of course, just making sure that you take up enough of the space on your thumbnail too. We usually recommend about a third of the thumbnail is actually you and showing your eyes. And, probably from about here up is a good place to start. Now we do have a lot of thumbnails where we have it from our chin to our forehead, and those ones perform really well too, especially in the office videos, pros and cons videos, the ones with kind of the funny faces or the different poses, and then just having a really, really close shot of yourself, which it can feel awkward, but for the person who's clicking on that, makes it really easy for you to stand out. So those would be my suggestions there in a nutshell. Can you use TubeBuddy and vidIQ both at the same time? Yes, you can. And actually, I like to use both because I'll compare to see what the keyword suggestions are, especially in a smaller area. Now, I don't always use vidIQ because TubeBuddy is number one for me, but I do use it just because in smaller areas, sometimes I have a hard time coming up with keywords for the small areas. So me and my team, we use vidIQ and TubeBuddy for keyword suggestions. So you can get the free version of vidIQ, which I would not recommend going with the paid version if you have a paid version of TubeBuddy. It's just overpowered, right? I think TubeBuddy is ultimately, that's my litmus test for if a video is going to be successful or not. I feel like TubeBuddy is slightly more accurate than vidIQ. I've used both, but I do like the keyword suggestions. So yeah, I would use the free version and then the paid version of TubeBuddy. My screen still says 5 minutes. Have you started? Yes, we have started. That's weird. I don't know why I would say that. Maybe you need to refresh your screen. Let's see. How can we leverage YouTube's features and tools such as live streaming and community posts to engage with the audience? Well, live streaming is really good for like market updates. A lot of people ask, well, when do I do those market updates? I still need to do them. It's really great to do that in a live setting because people come to a live with a different mindset. And that's what I always want you guys to think about is think about the customer experience. Think about the mindset of the client. Anytime that you do a video, in a live scenario, people are expecting up-to-date material, something that is hot in the now, trending, that type of stuff is great in a live scenario. So market updates, one successful series that we've done is like Dallas versus blank. So we'll invite another agent from another state to come and talk to us about why they think that their area is better than Dallas or why we think that Dallas is better than them. It's a very friendly banter going on throughout the entire thing, but we do kind of do a versus series. And then we get, we expand the audience for both us and for the person who we invite on. So it's a good opportunity to kind of collaborate, to expand your audience a little bit and to create some extra connections. So I would definitely recommend doing something like that in a live setting. Community posts, absolutely. We usually do in our community posts, we do polls, things to do in Dallas. Again, it's a lot more up-to-date material. So if you want to keep it really simple, we actually pretty much just duplicate the material that we put on Google My Business, and we'll put that onto YouTube community. The posts seem to do really well across, cross posting on that. Sometimes we'll adjust the photo to make it more friendly to the YouTube platform, but overall you can duplicate those and put them across both and do cross posting on that. You're the greatest, Chrissy Owens. Whoop, whoop. Thank you. I do try, but it's always fun. It's always fun for me to run these trainings because I feel like so many great questions come in. So thank you for all your great questions, Mr. Malcolm. How do you keep up with the changes in YouTube and social media algorithms and adjust your video marketing strategy accordingly? Well, you can follow us because we keep up with all of the YouTube trends, right? So keep on following us. Make sure if you have not subscribed to our channel and you're joining us for the first time, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like this video, even share it with somebody that maybe who is thinking about starting a YouTube channel. And that will definitely keep you up to date with all the latest and greatest trends in YouTube, especially for real estate and local SEO. But we also, we're always in different trainings. I think it's always great to be a lifelong learner. We attend trainings, masterminds. Levi is always going to events. I occasionally go to the events with him. So, we're always trying to expand our knowledge. We collaborate with some of the best, creators, arguably the best creators in the country all the time. Sean Cannell, Benji Travis, we are really good friends with them. And so, we try to keep up with also keeping up to date with those people who are also on top of trends outside of the local SEO niche. So I think it's just always trying to expand your knowledge, just being a lifelong learner and always knowing that things are changing. As far as the Instagram and TikTok algorithms, I think it's really important for you to also follow the people who are the movers and shakers in that scene as well. I think going outside the scene of real estate, I think, is also very important, because while we are all kind of, most of us at least, are focused on local SEO, the trends are obviously coming from outside our niche, right? So I think it's important to keep on top of trends outside of real estate and focus on the bigger picture, especially with places like Instagram and TikTok, YouTube Shorts, YouTube in general. Just be a lifelong learner and follow as many people as you can that you think are great creators and learn from them. Can you share any tips for making videos that are both informative and entertaining? Yes. I think it's just personality. It kind of comes back to personality. I would say, as far as the entertainment side, Levi does a good job of, he doesn't even, I don't think he really even tries to be funny, but he'll throw in, his own personal humor, and people love that. I think it's just about kind of leaning into your mistakes even. I think that's a really good point too. Actually, leaning into your mistakes and your flaws as a creator actually can create a really good community around you. I tell story all the time, and if Levi ever watches this back, which I'm sure he will because he always watches everything, but if he watches this back, he's going to roll his eyes because I tell this story all the time. But one of the things that Levi always does in his videos is he trips. He trips in all his vlog videos, not all of them, but a lot of his vlog videos, he trips. It's just because he's so focused on the camera, that sometimes he doesn't pick up his feet and he'll trip over a crack in the sidewalk or whatever. And it's never like he's never face planted it or anything, but it is just a little stumble. But on the other end, on the editing side, we always play that up, and we've done slow-mo for him, sound effects for that. And, it's funny. He also for some reason, he attracts every animal in sight. He is the animal whisperer. And so like, there's this one video, I can't even remember where it was. It's obviously in some rural community, but he was out doing a vlog, and there were all these horses. And so he started like calling to the horses and everything, and then the horses never came over to him, which was like the first time an animal hasn't like responded to him. So we made fun of that whole situation too. So I think it's like part of that is just like leaning into your mistakes. And the other side of it is just like incorporating that into your editing and not trying to cut it out for perfection. I think where people fall flat on YouTube is that they try to make it so perfect. And right now we're in such a society of like real and raw. We're really starting to move away from the curated. You'll see this like on Instagram and TikTok. A lot of the creators from yesteryear were all telling you, make sure that you have a curated, beautiful, perfect Instagram grid. If it's not a perfect, beautiful Instagram grid, you're not going to get anybody to follow you or subscribe to you. And now that's not the case. Now they're saying, that variety, that raw, very real look is what people are looking for. People want that in the moment, unfiltered look into your life. And so I think the less that you try to perfect your videos, you lean into some of your flaws or mistakes, that's part of your personality, and people like to trust people that they know that can be vulnerable. So I would say that's probably more important than anything else. Give the information, don't try to be perfect, and just, lean into your personality. I think people really appreciate that. Let's see. How do you ensure that your video content is accessible to all viewers, including those with disabilities? That's a great question. There are some features on YouTube, and I haven't really looked into a whole lot of these. But there are some new features that YouTube and other platforms are starting to put out there, including, having more audio available. Now, captions is one thing that I would say just to at least enable. Now, that's not something that's automatically on the screen for us, but we do make sure that we do have captions and a transcript that people can turn into closed captions if they want to. So I think that that's really good, especially for people with hearing disabilities. Captions, I would say, is the number one thing that will help people be able to see it across platforms. On Instagram, I was hearing a stat, I think it's like 80% or something of people who watch videos, short form videos on Instagram and TikTok, watch it on silent the first time. And so that, especially on short form content, is going to be really important, is to at least allow those captions to be available to people. For short form, I would be cautious to do any type of short form without captions enabled. For long form, at least having it available where they can turn it on. Now we don't put them automatically on there. We find that that's just as a cleaner look for us, and we prefer that. But we do have them available in the back end. So I would check your transcript. It will be automatically generated for you. YouTube does that for you. So just go back and make sure spelling is correct and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think captions is probably the number one thing. I do know that a few other platforms, they also have like the ability to turn on audio. I can't even remember what it is. There was something coming out actually for not audio, but something specifically for people who are blind. I cannot remember the feature though. It was something that was newly announced. So I'd have to look back into that. But yes, captions I would say are the number one thing that you could incorporate right now to kind of help people, with disabilities. I noticed that Levi's video today was more vlog style. It was entertaining. Yes, I know. Yeah, we've been kind of playing around with a couple of different styles just to see how they hit our audience. And yeah, we went back to kind of a vlog style today. He showed the Bishop Arts area. And I think that Levi's probably going to be fine with me sharing this, but we got a lead within like an hour of putting that out. So that was pretty fast. I don't even think it was an hour. It was probably like 45 minutes. So it definitely works. It definitely works. How do you navigate the challenges of producing high quality video content on a tight budget or timeline? Yeah, like I said, starting with what you have, I think is really important. I don't think it's necessary for you to go out and get a bunch of fancy equipment at the very beginning. At the very beginning, when we started this whole thing, Levi just used his smartphone. And I think he still uses the same selfie stick that he used when he started. We started very, very simple. We were on a tight budget when we first started. Levi came to me and asked me if I wanted to help him build this YouTube channel. And I said, let's do it. But it was just me and him at the very beginning. And Travis came on a couple of months later as his business partner. And so, ultimately, we started with absolutely nothing, really. So I would just start with what you have, good microphone, good phone, and just be sure to show up when there's good lighting. And if you start with those three things and you start to see that things are starting to get successful, we did bring on Alex not, too long after that. Once we started really taking off on the channel, we realized that we wanted to start doing kind of the luxury market too. And we want to target that in separate videos. And so we knew we needed a videographer at that point. So we expanded when we were ready to expand and when we had the income to be able to do that. So I would just say don't invest in things that don't really matter to the channel as far as just getting videos out there. Invest in those things after you've started to see some leads come in and start to build from there. What are some common mistakes that businesses make with their video marketing efforts? Yeah, I think it's doing ads. I think that's probably the number one. Ad is like trying to get these vanity metrics when the vanity metrics really don't matter. Trying to chase views instead of chasing leads is the biggest mistake that I would say that businesses make, especially on YouTube. I know that it's very tempting and desirable for people to be able to see, 1,000 views on a video right off the bat, or to hit the 10K mark. Everybody wants to see 10 to 100,000 views on a video. I get this comment all the time. People go to another channel that has like 100,000 views on every single video. And they're like, oh my gosh, my competitor is doing so much better than me. But what will surprise you is most of those people are not bringing in leads from that. And most of those people don't even have comments underneath it. A lot of bot comments, that's a problem too for a lot of those channels because they're using ads. Ads don't really bring you the leads like organic leads do. Now, not to say that the ads can't bring you leads. There are definitely people who do that. But I would like you to think about maybe some of the postcard marketing that you've done in the past or the Google LSAs that you've done in the past, right? Those bring you leads, but I would say that those are pretty poor quality leads about 80% of the time, right? They're not very good leads most of the time. You'll get one every diamond in the rough, every once in a while, but that's not the quality that you're going to get from organic leads. When you start getting organic leads from YouTube, the conversion rate is off the charts. It's so much better. It's just like today, we put out a video and an hour, not even an hour later, we had a lead and somebody who is like a developer, somebody who is serious. right? You want serious leads coming in. So chasing views instead of leads is probably the biggest mistake. You'll waste a lot of money, a lot of time, and you'll be sad. I mean, right? There's a lot of leads. You'll be disappointed with a lot of the leads that come in. So I would definitely take the slow and steady route of building your channel organically, and don't try to put ads into your channel. Let's see. So many good questions. Mr. Malcolm always brings just the best questions. Let's see. What are some common mistakes? And sorry, I am like feeling my throat starting to go. You know me, guys. I talk so fast. And actually on if you guys were on Clubhouse yesterday, I was just like zipping through our stuff. And you know me, I just talk so fast. So my brain goes faster than my mouth can. Okay. So common mistakes, we already talked about that one. Let's see. How do you tailor your video marketing approach on different social media platforms? Great question. I would say, you know, I really do believe in more of an organic approach on all platforms, but, you know, I have heard of people using ads on things like TikTok and Instagram. We've never used ads, so I can't really speak to it. I do know people are successful with that, but I would definitely say, you know, it's just kind of approaching it just like you would with just short form content on YouTube for the short form platforms. And you're going to see my dog back there. It's not a ghost. It's the shadow of my doggo. But yeah, short form content is very different than form content. And so just making sure that like your short form content is a lot more you know, to the point, make sure it's impactful. The captions are really, 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 really important on short form. So I would definitely make sure that you're incorporating that. Pattern interrupts are even more important on short form. And so, you know, the attention span's even shorter on short form. So I would say, you know, just make it move faster, add more captions and pop-ups, and that should probably serve you really well. Again, I can't really speak to ads, but I would definitely say, you know, it's a lot more frequent on short form too. You definitely have to be more attentive to short form content than long form. Long form, you know, 3 videos a week is usually an ideal place to be. Totally fine for long form. Short form, you're looking at more like 1 to 2 a day is typically what you're going to need to do to have impact. So. All right. And I think this is our last question. Miguel, is there a good way to create shorts from longer videos? Yes. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. There's some programs out there that can kind of help you with it. CapCut is one that I have seen a lot of creators use. A lot of creators use CapCut for Instagram in particular. You do it all on your phone. I think that phone editing, especially when you're putting it onto Instagram, it tends to be a little bit easier than desktop editing, depending on how intense you want to get with your captions. It really depends on what your approach is with your short form. But I mean, we do have, you know, on our team, we have someone who does our shorts for us, and they do it on desktop, but they also do, you know, like Alex Hermosi style captions. And so, you know, it does require a little bit more time. Those videos can take a while to edit. So I would definitely say, you know, maybe if you don't have the ability to bring on a team, I would just go ahead and use your long form, find the best pieces of it, cut those out, and maybe edit them in CapCut or something like that. Now, Instagram also has some really good options just on their own personal editor for putting things together for you. Sometimes you can take a couple of clips. So if maybe you had 3 or 4 clips that are maybe 5 to 7 seconds long and you wanted to sync them, you know, together, Instagram can help you do that right within the editor. So a lot of options inside of the editors themselves, but CapCut is one I've definitely heard a lot about. So, and I've used it a couple of times, and it's a good editor. So we are getting results, but I'm wondering what a reasonable goal for getting subscribers would be for the first few months. Man, that is a hard question. It's really hard to answer that question just because every area is so different. It depends on what the competition is for your area, depends on how many videos you're putting out per week. It depends on what you're seeing in the engagement and the comments. It's really hard to determine all of that just based on that. But, you know, if you're getting results, then that should be even more important than the subscribers. If you're seeing growth from week to week and you're seeing that you're getting more subscribers from week to week, I would say that's probably a more reasonable way to look at it. it needs to be relative to what you're seeing growth-wise on your channel. If you're starting to notice that you're kind of stagnating, you're plateauing on your number of subscribers per week, you probably need a stronger call to action for subscriptions. I will say that most of the people who watch our channel are not subscribed. And so, you know, like I said, we get most people who call us haven't subscribed to the channel. I'm sure the guy who texted in today was not subscribed to the channel. A lot of people who come and watch our videos are seeing our videos for the very first time. And before even thinking about subscribing, they give us a call, which really is more important than the subscribers. So ultimately, look for a growth week to week. And if you're not seeing kind of a growth from week to week, I would say that you probably need a stronger call to action, and that's where you would want to improve that. Does passive prospecting offer shorts video editing? And at what point would you add them in? We are about 100 days. Yes, and we've been getting this question quite a bit. We are not ready to launch that program, but we are actively working on it. We have beta people in progress with that program. We are trying to work out some of the kinks before we offer it to the public. But yes, it is hopefully. We're really hoping by the end of May or the middle of June, we'll be able to actually launch shorts editing. So it is in progress. We do have a timeline on it. It's just not currently live. But yeah, you're probably, I mean, if you're at 100 days, I would say you're probably pretty close to being able to do that. Usually 90 to 120 days in is a pretty good place to start. Now, I've told some people 60 to 90 days. It really kind of depends on what your engagement level is. If you feel like you've got good stats, I can't remember how many you're releasing per week. If you were like releasing one video a week, I'd say 90 to 120 days is probably more realistic for that. If you're releasing 2 to 3, 60 to 90 days is usually a pretty good window to start doing shorts. You just need to make sure that you've established a baseline and that you are having the short form support the long form content versus the long form supporting the short form. That's kind of what we're looking for there. So I can't, like I said, I can't remember exactly how many you're putting out per week. I know you're in the video editing program, so I apologize. But yeah, I would say you're probably pretty close to being able to release those. We've gotten 3 leads with 2 getting ready to go under contract this week in 7 weeks. That's amazing. Oh, congratulations. That's really fantastic. So yeah, I would say that's a better litmus test than even subscribers. So if you're getting that kind of traction, absolutely keep doing what you're doing. The only thing that I would add is maybe add a stronger call to action. Maybe that means in the middle of your video saying, hey, if you're enjoying this video, make sure that you subscribe, like this video, you know, turn on notifications. Another easy tactic that you can do is just go ahead and add the like subscribe button at the end of your video, middle of your video, or somewhere else, you know, and just kind of remind people to do that. That would be the only thing that I could say you could really improve with that. Other than that, sounds like it's working. So don't want to fix what's not broken, right? And you're at 3 weeks. Yeah, I was thinking that you were at 3 weeks. So yeah, you should be able to start those shorts soon. Hit that like button. Only one other person has so far. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for the plug there. I appreciate that. Yeah. So if you guys, like I said, if you guys are joining us for the first time and you have not subscribed to this channel, make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And that way you'll always be up to date on all the YouTube updates for real estate and beyond. So we'd love to have you join us for these calls moving forward. And then of course, if you haven't been exposed to our course yet, you haven't been able to take that yet, definitely recommend checking out our full course, Passive Prospecting. And I'll throw that here in the chat here in just a second, but it's a great course. And if you're really wondering where you need to start with your real estate channel, how to get past most of the mistakes that a lot of real estate agents make, that course is for you. So make sure that you check that out. I can pop that here in the chat here in just a second. Let me see. And actually, we have a live training here coming up pretty soon. Both Levi and I are on that. So if you have not done our course, that would be a great place to have some questions answered in a really small setting. You'll be able to come on camera and chat with us if you have questions. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that into the chat as well. But other than that, it looks like we're done with all of our questions for today. So thank you so much for joining us. Reminder that if you are in our school group, which is our private group for members only, you can submit your channels for channel reviews. Levi will be back with us next week, so we'll be able to tag team on those reviews next week. So we do take up to 3 per session. So we'll just choose the 3. Now, sometimes we've gotten 6 to 10. a couple of times, and sometimes we only get one like we did this week. But if we get more than 3, then we'll choose the most relevant ones that can teach the most people and be a good example for the most people on the call. So you just need to do that. That post gets released about 24 hours in advance of this call. So just make sure that you check that out. But other than that, we'll just plan on seeing you guys next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.